analyst, JC. Good morning.
Yeah.
How are you, JC?
Hey, good. Thanks, Shane. One of your other guests, Pete Prisco, I think he had Will Levis very high, as did Mel Kiper, and those guys just missed that one. But it's a
That
shame
doesn't mean they missed it. That doesn't mean they missed it. Will Levis could be a good player for all they know. I mean, think about this. Everybody, it's all a crapshoot, regardless of who you are, what player, where you're taken. Guys that are drafted in the first round, if you don't have them on your list, did you miss it, or did the general managers get it wrong? I mean, you never really know. I wonder if you went back and all over time, who got it right, who got it wrong, whose percentage is higher.
Well, I don't know. I'm just telling you that they thought the kid would go very high in the draft, and he didn't go in the first round. That's all I'm saying. I agree with you. He could be the next Ken Stabler, but the prediction of him being the first or second or third quarterback taken was just grossly wrong. I do think that C.J. Stroud being number 2 was. I think the Houston Texans. Let's just say this: the Houston Texans.
They won the draft.
They stole the show with what they did, trading up to get the third pick, and then getting a really great offensive player, great defensive player. They need to sell tickets. I think they figured it out. I love what D'Amico Ryan is doing, because he's the new coach there, and he was the defensive coordinator at San Francisco, and he did a great job with the 49ers. So, I agree with you. They won the attention, at least early on in the first part of that draft. And I think a lot of the teams that drafted the players that they did, just about everybody got what they needed, or got addressed the need that they had. Let's say that. And some of these offensive linemen that went, and some of the guys on defense that went, the corners that went, were just about right. So I thought it was excellent. It just takes QB. It just seems to take 15 minutes between each pick. It just seems to take a little bit longer than I'd like. I don't need to hear everybody's. I guess it's just part of the show. I don't know. It's
part of the show, and I mean, you got to remember it's the first round, so they're trying to. I mean, they're giving these guys a lot of money, so they're trying to hopefully make the right pick for their team. But besides the Houston Texans, the Philadelphia Eagles got 2 of the best players in America.
Yes, they
on their
did.
Team.
Yes, they did.
They probably got I think he was rated the highest player in the draft with Jalen Carter. Now we know all his issues, but nobody's going to care about those issues after the draft. And then Nolan Smith is a phenomenal football player.
Oh,
I think the Eagles, what they did there was phenomenal.
Yeah, you're 100%. I mean, that's exactly right. They're just loaded QB. I mean, defensively, they were good. Their defense let them down in the Super Bowl a little bit. But what they picked up to go on with what they have is just, you're right. That's just tremendous. And I think they're going to be good. They're going to be the favorite to win the NFC again this year, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, easily. There was a couple of things like, some of these linebackers and these guys from Iowa that were taken. I think there were 2 players on defense from Iowa.
Yeah.
We know they play good defense, but I don't know. And I mean, I don't know if they were on people's draft board. I mean, usually if you're not at the draft and you go in the first round, you weren't on a lot of people's draft boards to go that high. But what's still amazing to me, and I think the world of Bryce Young, he is barely taller than Nick Saban. And Nick Saban is only like 5'8".
Yeah, he hugged Roger Goodell. It was about the same size guy, and then these other fellas that come out, including Anthony, just swallow Roger Goodell. And that's true. Listen, I think Carolina. I don't think they had a choice, so they had to get him, and that's who they went with. And I think he'll do fine there. I like the pick. I'll tell you what. I was confused with, the Jaguars picked late in the draft. They traded away twice to go down a couple notches. It didn't hurt them, but I'm really surprised that they didn't get a tight end. I would have thought they or Dallas would have drafted a tight end because I thought the kid from Utah and the kid from Notre Dame were just ripe for the picking and would have been great picks for them offensively, because I think that's what that's what I would have thought they'd go for, but they didn't. Dallas went with a Michigan defensive lineman, and for some reason I'm drawing a blank on what Jacksonville did. It was late.
Jacksonville took an offensive tackle, Anton Harrison from Oklahoma, because and I don't know if this all changed, because yesterday the reports came out, me being in Jacksonville, that Cam Robinson, one of their starting tackles, is suspended for the first 6 games because of using PEDs. But here's my thing: is even if that's the case, I don't go draft a tackle. Right. I go find a tackle in I go find a guy in free agency that it's played. I don't want to stick another rookie tackle in there as a starter. And they got I think Evan Ingram, their tight end, came back. But yeah, I do think the way Doug Peterson calls plays, a tight end would have been great. I thought Dalton Kincaid, which I saw him in person, is a really, really good football player.
They could have got him. They could have gotten him. They traded him to Buffalo.
Yeah. So it's, Jahmyr Gibbs, the Alabama running back from Georgia Tech, went 12th to the Lions, which surprised. I think he's a phenomenal player. I think he's going to be a great pro. They just I think they have a slew of running backs that are pretty good players. So I think Bijan Robinson, the running back that went 8 to the Falcons, is a perfect fit for them, because you got to think about their style of play. Their head coach used to be the offensive coordinator of the Titans, so they run the ball more than anybody. So Bijan Robinson, that's a pretty good pick there. So, but let's talk about Anthony. I think, I mean, it's one of those deals. A lot of question marks. We know the skill levels there, the God-given talent. It's going to be interesting to see what Shane Steichen, what he did with, if he can do the same thing that he did with Jalen Hurts, if he can do with Anthony Richardson. Now, it'll be interesting to see if they try to play him right away, because I want to say right now, if they've had to play a game, they're probably going to start Gardner Minshew. Because Gardner Minshew played for Shane Steichen. He was the backup to Jalen Hurts, so he knows the system that they're going to be running in Indianapolis. But were you surprised that he went to the Colts or no?
Well, I remember I had him 5th to the Seahawks, so 4th to the Colts did surprise me, but I had a feeling he was going to go higher than maybe a lot of folks did. And I guess, this is one of those situations where they are betting on the come line, and they really think that, this could be a real franchise changer. So, this is a great story for a kid from East Gainesville. Didn't really light the world on fire at Florida, but he had glimpses of really exciting things. The one pass that he threw with Florida that I remember as being probably one of his better plays, and I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, was just a little rollout to the right, and he hit Pearsall in the back right corner of the end zone. On just a little rollout, and he zinged it in there. And I think, there are glimpses of brilliance there. It's just, I hope people are patient in Indianapolis. I hope they don't think Lamar Jackson is just going to jump out on the field for the Colts.
Well, Lamar didn't light the world on fire right away either, if I remember correctly.
QB, let me just throw this at you too. Can you believe that with these contracts that are being signed by these quarterbacks? Okay, Lamar signed one yesterday, making him, I think, statistically the highest paid. Even though Deshaun Watson has a bigger contract, he's the highest paid with guarantees, I think, or at least per annum. Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Jalen Hurts, and Kyler Murray. How many playoff games combined have those guys won? And these are the biggest contracts the NFL has in history ever.
Well, obviously, how many did the Eagles have to win to get to the Super Bowl? 3?
So they won 2. That's 2 in 1 year. And then
I don't know. Has Lamar won a playoff game?
He's won 1. He won a wild card game against Tennessee, but he had a bunch of losses before that. Kyler Murray missed half the season last year, but they gave him the money before last year. And Deshaun Watson has a rap sheet, looks like Al Capone, even though it didn't include anybody being murdered. So, he's got this, he's got that. Cleveland putting their entire franchise on his shoulders. And so he hasn't gotten any either. So there's 3 that I can count. If somebody else wants to throw a number out there, let them do it. But 3 playoff wins amongst 4 guys who collectively I think are going to get over I don't know, $600 million in guaranteed money. It's somewhere in that number. Guaranteed money. $600 million in guaranteed money.
And it's interesting. And so I'll ask you now, Mel Kiper, Cornell. Would you start, if you had to pick anybody, would you start any of those guys on your franchise as your franchise quarterback?
Yeah, see, I would have a hard time with it. I would have a hard time with it.
Yeah,
just because,
I mean, that's the thing. If you said, okay, here are the highest paid players, you just said it's Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson. Is that correct?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts.
Oh, and Jalen. So there's 4 of them, right?
Yeah.
Deshaun, Jalen, Hurts, Kyler Murray, and Lamar Jackson. Those are the 4 highest paid, and they're all black, which is great, because you remember there used to be the story where, you know, people that didn't want to have black kids playing quarterback and they didn't want to pay them whatever. So the 4 highest paid right there. But if you had to start a franchise, I don't think the general public would pick any of them to be their quarterback.
No, and you know, Philadelphia, I think, looking on the upside of all this, looked better than all 4 than the other 3, if you ask me. Just because of the year Hurts had last year and how good they are. I don't know how Watson's going to end up. I don't know about Jackson winning playoff games. I think for some reason he just has problems doing it in postseason. And then, you know, hell, Murray is just, I've never understood what Arizona did there, but they did it. And so they're stuck with it. So good luck to them.
Well, I don't think those guys will be the highest paid when it's all said and done in the next. I don't know when Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow's contracts are up.
Yeah. It's not much longer.
They're going to make more than those guys.
Well, and speaking of Justin Herbert, you know, the Chargers drafted a wide receiver, and you know, you think to yourself, wait a minute, they got this big, tall wide receiver from TCU. And there's Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Well, the reason they got another wide receiver is because Mike Williams and Keenan Allen play half the season. They're hurt half the time. You can't trust them. So I asked myself, what are the Chargers doing? Then I remember these guys are prone to injury. So that's the whole point of it. And so they're, you know, I guess, you know, they're just trying to protect Herbert, and that's who they have to protect because he's their franchise. It's just that simple. I think Buffalo getting Dalton Kincaid with Josh Allen, that is going to be just a great addition to their offense. And you could see how excited Dalton Kincaid was when the Bills jumped on him. And why wouldn't they? I mean, that's a great player who's going to catch the football. The kid from Notre Dame is great as well. I think his name is Mayer. But this Kincaid, we saw him play here. He's a winner. And so Josh Allen's just got another weapon for the Buffalo Bills. And I think it was a great pick on their behalf. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We got a text that came in last night on the Tag No More text line. It's from Robert. Robert says, ask JC, can he believe that Bryce Young is the first ever #1 pick that Nick Saban's ever had?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, I'd have to look that up, but I wouldn't have any reason to doubt the tweet, or I rather doubt the text. But you know, we know about.
Yeah. First pick, first overall #1 that Nick Saban's ever had. But
yeah.
I still can't get over how small he. I think the world of him. I can't get over how small he is.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Anything else stand out to you, JC, before we move on from the draft?
Well, you know, I just not really. I think everybody did a pretty good job of getting the one. I thought it was funny how Belichick stuck it to the Jets by jumping in front of them and taking a player that some perceived that the Jets would get. But you know, really not so much. The whole show was really fun to watch. As long as it took. But I did like the production of it, and I thought the folks in Kansas City, had 125,000 people show up in Kansas City to wait 4 hours to announce who the Chiefs were going to get. And I know that each team had their little pockets of fans there that the camera would show. I don't know if they were paid or put in there to make all of that part of the production, but I thought it was funny. And I think the Eagles, the Texans, these are winners in the draft, and they're just they're going to get better. The Eagles specifically right now, to me, look to be clearly the NFC favorite at this point.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I didn't see a whole lot of the draft. I was at a thing, and a buddy of mine who he lives in Jacksonville. He's a Jets fan, but I was asking him, I was like, do you think they pay these people to wear all this crazy stuff? He goes, he said here in Jacksonville, they had like a trial. They had a tryout for like the super fans. Then they I guess they pick, X amount of them, and then they send them to the draft to act a fool with all that craziness.
That's right.
So you'd be good at that, JC.
I'd do it. I'd like to go up there. Again, 100,000 fans out there. It looked like a rock concert. Something the Rolling Stones would attract or whatever. And it was a well put on show. I thought ESPN did a great job. I think the analysis was excellent. I loved the back room where all these players were. And I guess the biggest thing for me is just to see the emotion on these kids' faces when they're drafted. Jalen Carter almost bawled all the way to the stage. He's been through a lot with the off-field issues there with that racing incident and the no contest plea. It was a lot to deal with for a young man. And to see himself walk up on that stage knowing that he's going to be an Eagle with former players on that roster, former teammates that he's got. It's a dream come true, and all of them had dreams that were realized last night that were drafted. I think Will Levis, it is unfortunate. I agree with you. I don't know why they kept showing this picture. It's embarrassing. But listen, he's going to make a lot of money. He's going to get drafted. He's not going to make as much as he would have if he had been drafted in the first round, but he's got to show it on the field. And we'll see who gets him today. Somebody will pick him up today in the second or third round.
Yeah, and that all starts. It starts again tonight, right? Not during the day.
It's 7 o'clock.
Okay.
7 o'clock. Yeah.
All right. And in other news, the Celtics got rid of the Hawks. They move on. So we have two game sixes tonight in the NBA playoffs. Warriors, Kings. Warriors lead that series 3-2. And then the Lakers try to close out the 2-seed Grizzlies. There's been some upsets. Obviously with the Heat upsetting the Bucks, the 1-8 seed. So, but anything going on in hockey? You want to give us a hockey update, JC?
Well, yeah. The big news last night out of Toronto was the Maple Leafs failing to close out the Lightning. Tampa wins 4-2, forces a game 6 on Saturday night. It's going to be a madhouse down in Tampa, in downtown Tampa right now. It's going to be an absolute madhouse. If they can get to game 7, Toronto's going to start thinking about their way they always have choked. They haven't won they haven't advanced out of the first round since 2004. So that's 19 years that the Maple Leafs, as good as they've gotten, have failed to get out. If they lose game 6 and go to game 7, they're looking at the same thing that happened to them 2 years ago when they lost to Montreal, down 3-1 or up 3-1, only to lose 3 in a row. And Tampa, defending 2-time defending Cup champions. They didn't win it last year, but they made the finals. I think it's a great franchise. It's hard to bury somebody in the 4th game. The Bruins couldn't do it against Florida. They'll have another chance tonight. That's down in Sunrise, i.e. Fort Lauderdale. So Boston needs to win that, or else they're going to start thinking about a game 7 issue where, here they had all these records set in the regular season and for wins and all this, and it could all come crashing down in one game if they don't win it. So it's a big night for Boston tonight in game 6. And I think Tampa, if they can win game 6 in Tampa on Saturday night, they will be, you'd have to think of them as being the favorite to win the series now because of Toronto's history. The Devils have now won 3 straight against the Rangers. They won 4-0. They have really changed that series by changing their goalie. And the Golden Knights eliminated Winnipeg. That's not a big surprise. Winnipeg had multiple injuries. So Las Vegas moves on to the second round. They won 4-1 last night.
Yeah, we got a text that just came in, even though the show's being taped. It came from William. He says, JC, where are your Rams? Why no pick in the first round? Didn't they? They gave all that up a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, the Rams somewhat mortgaged the house on winning a Super Bowl. They accomplished that goal, but it will come and did come, and everybody knew it would come at a cost, and that was not being able to draft early in the coming years. And so they've tried to unload some salary here in the offseason. It's going to be tough for Matt Stafford and the Rams to rebuild and try to keep up with some of these teams that are drafting all these great players right now. And that's just the deal they made with the Devil. I mean, they made that decision. It did pay off. but it's going to take a while to get back. So, I don't think we're going to hear from the Rams. I think Seattle got a lot better too, QB. I like what Seattle did. Young players that, I think will address the need to go along with Kenneth Walker. They got another wide receiver last night. Seattle did. I think his name is Zay. Is it Zay Jones? No, he didn't go to Seattle. He went to Baltimore. But they picked another wide receiver that's a very, very exciting player. Pete Carroll wanted him to go along with Metcalf and Lockett and to help Geno out. I think Seattle's a team to watch. Watch out for Seattle in the West. They made the playoffs last year, and they were picked to win all of 4 games. So Seattle could be a team to keep your eye on as well.
Yeah, you talking about your Ram situation. A lot of people, I was looking on Twitter. I can't remember who put it out there, but they said they felt like the Texans mortgaged too much moving up and getting Will Anderson in that 3rd pick. I don't know what they had to give up to move up there. You got any thoughts on that?
Well, Will Anderson, he creates havoc. He's he's an edge rusher, simple as that. He tries to get the quarterback to make quick and bad decisions, and he sacks people. He's going to get double teamed a lot. That's going to free up some things for the rest of those guys on defense. I don't think it's a bad pick. I don't think it was a bad idea. I don't think they're disappointed at all. I think D'Amico Ryan, as the former defensive coordinator for San Francisco, who you could make the argument was the best defense we've seen in the NFL the last 2 years, knows exactly what he wants and what he's doing. And he got his guy quarterback. I think Stroud is going to be a real exciting player. Now they got to get some players around him, but you got to start somewhere, QB. You got to start somewhere, and quarterback is the biggest position in sports, and it's certainly the most important for a team like Houston, who just couldn't put the ball in the end zone. QB, you know that. So
it's kind of cool because you got Stroud and Anthony both in the same division,
right?
Battling out for could be for many years. We shall see.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens today and tomorrow in the draft. Again, congratulations to everyone that was drafted. I know it was a big night for them. I don't really like to watch the draft because I didn't get drafted, so kiss my butt.
Look, you had a career that lasted much longer than the majority of all players. So you got the last laugh, QB.
I ain't gonna complain. I'm not gonna complain, but
hey,
it is.
My man,
I'm still waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah, my man Tony Finau's tied for 4th. By the way, he's 2 back.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah. Do I have any? I forgot about golf. Is any of my players playing with the dog in Mexico?
I'm looking. I don't notice. I don't recognize some of these guys. I have to.
I don't even remember who I picked.
I wrote it down, but of course I left it in the kitchen. We'll review it on. We'll have to review it on Monday.
Yeah, so we'll recap the entire draft and everything that goes on in the sports world over the weekend. A lot of the NHL and the NBA playoffs will move on to the 2nd round.
Yes.
When we talk again on Monday. So JC, have a good weekend, my man.
Okay.
Stay safe, and we'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, we will see you then. Thanks, QB. See you then, buddy.
Yeah, that's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Today's program is a little short. Got some business to take care of, but starting next week on Monday, we'll be live all 5 days doing our normal routine back to the regular scheduled program. So hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy watching the draft. Again, congratulations to Anthony Richardson and any other Gators that are picked this weekend. You've been watching Podup with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Have a great week.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems.